Alrighty, welcome to the crazy let's make our own seed starting mix so that I can bring the mix inside and I don't get gnats. I'm going to first sieve, or I guess, yeah, sieve the peat moss to get rid of some of the chunks that'll be a little finer for my seeds. And then I'm going to add some perlite, which I have several bags of. In your potting mixes, you are always going to find this peat moss. So I just buy bales of it. It's already there. And so I get it, and then I mix perlite. I would say about 70% peat moss and then 30% perlite. So what I'm going to do is sieve this, and it's pretty easy. I think I have a glove somewhere, but if not, I'll just show you. So you basically just take it. You could buy a gadget for this, but if I had two hands, I would show you that you just run it over. And so see, something like this doesn't go in there. And what you're left with is minus these chunks. And then I'll just put the chunks back in the bag for a different project. But you notice, let's see if I can not make a mess, it's just finer and softer for your seed starting. And after I do this, I'm going to go ahead and put it in a one of my buckets that has holes in it. So I have smaller ones of these, and I will fill it up with hot water, and then I will let it sit. And boiling water, it should kill the fungus gnats, so that when I do start my seeds indoors, I won't have as many, hopefully no fungus gnats at all. So I'm just going to keep up with this project of I'm not sure how much I'm going to make, but I know how much I should probably have. But how cool is that? Let me see here. Let me see if I can pick some up and see how fine it is. Oh yeah, see, soft. So instead of buying seed starting mix from the garden centers or the big box stores, now you can have your very own sieved. It does take time, but what else are you doing getting ready for the garden in January? So I think today is January, I want to say 30 or 31st. So happy gardening. Still working on making my seed starting mix. This is actually called hardware cloth, and you usually can find it in your Tractor Supply, your big box stores. You can even order it online. I highly recommend using gloves with it because it can be very dangerous once you cut it. But I just bent over the edges on my bucket, and I think it's 1/4-inch hardware cloth. So this is also good to put if you feel like you have critters digging up your things. You can put them underneath. Dig a hole, shape this around, and then put it. I also protected my caterpillars with it. So I made like a little cage over my parsley just to give them enough chance to not get eaten by the millions of birds that we have in our yard. So finishing up making my seed starting mix, and it's going along pretty smoothly. This is the big chunks that are coming out. That's just some leftover greens from something else, but the big chunks that are coming out of the peat moss. And in case you didn't know, the potting mix that you buy is about 70 to 80% peat moss. So if you're ambitious enough to mix it yourself, you can probably make different ratios and take out the idea that there's fertilizer in it if you prefer not to have any. So as you can see, this is from one pass. I just dumped a little bit on there and ran my hand over it, and these are the chunks that are left over. Now I would never do this for just basic potting mix, but because I want to start my seeds indoors, I want to get it as fine of a texture as I possibly can. So you see all these chunks that are being left by my sieving. I'm just going to go ahead and continue to dump them in a bucket and just dump it back into the peat moss bag so that when I do make potting mix, it's a different story. So this is just very fine seed starting mix. I know I've repeated myself a million times, but this is kind of a fun project. So it's nothing fancy or exciting, but I have my boil yourself some water pot, And I'm just gonna pour it over. We have this big old canning pot that we haven't really used yet. And I'm just gonna pour this over this, and maybe give it a stir. And then I can put the lid on it and really make sure that the heat stays in. I think I can fit a little bit more of the mix that I made. So I'm just gonna stir this around and then put the cover on it and let the fungus gnats and every other thing die, since I really don't need it for seed starting. What I mean, I don't really need it. I don't need any beneficial microorganisms or bacterias or anything to start seeds. All right, here we are, January 31st. It's about, I think, 8 or 9 weeks until our last frost here in 7B, give or take April 15th. So I'm gonna start these lobelia seeds. And I love this stuff. I had no idea I could buy seeds. Well, they are super duper tiny. So I'm gonna put them here on this lid. And then hopefully try to use them all up for a couple of seed starting trays. So obviously there's 12 here. And then I may do one in the jug for outdoor winter sowing. You can always refer to our videos for that. And if you hear that sound and recognize it, yes, we are cooking bacon for breakfast. All right, now that I've got the lobelia seeds, you couldn't see these if your life depended on it. They're so small. I have my heat mat on, and this is my setup here. I've got my Happy Leaf grow light up there, and I've got just the good old 5,000 lumens shop light from Walmart under here, and I'm going to keep my heat mat on. I have 2 or 3 more trays to start, but heat mat will be on, but I'm gonna give these just a little mist to help the lobelia seeds make contact. And then I will let these guys go for 12 to 14 hours. I may drop the light a little bit. It might be a little high right now, or I can just put them on a little something to raise them up, or I can bring the light down. But I think I might just bring the light down because I have others to start. All right, I got my lobelia full tray of vinca seeds, and then half gazania and half cerise rose queen yarrow. Heating pad is on 24 hours until they emerge. Covers are on until they emerge. Light is down pretty darn close. This is my Walmart shop light. And once they pop through, I can transfer them to another shelf if needed. So when they pop through, I'll take their covers off, turn off the heat mat, and move them into another row, which I have to get set up. So it's about, I don't know, about 9.5 weeks before our last frost here. And these are the guys that are recommended to start 8 to 12 or 10 to 12 weeks from your last frost date. All right, I had to give you guys an update. Apparently I started these on January 31st. Today is February 3rd, and yarrow has emerged. And there's one gazania back there. So just wanted to give you a little update. This is my Happy Leaf grow light, full spectrum LED. I guess I'm about 5 inches. I usually figure that spread of my fingers is about 5 inches. So look at that, already emerged. Cerise queen yarrow, I think it's going to be pink.